the Everton and Liverpool game.
Mm.
A 2-2 draw, but so much controversy, especially with Jordan Pickford. Did you watch the game?
I did. I watched this game in full, yeah.
Okay. Should he have received a red card for that?
I'm going to upset a lot of people, actually. I believe that football should still be a physical game. Obviously, people are going to say, well, you support a lower league football team, so of course you do. And yeah, we do like to kick the lump out of the opposition. But, I mean, even Lincoln know how to play good, fluid football. You know, we've seen that. And there's a reason why they've managed to drag their way up to League One. But for me, although it's a rough challenge, and if I was the referee, I most likely would have given it a red card. So the difficult position here is the fact that Jordan Pickford's gone in very hard on Virgil van Dijk. There's no question about that. Whether he aims to win the ball or not, kind of irrelevant when you make a challenge. Is it a red card? Yes. Is it a world-ending tackle? No. I think the problem is we've been very sensitized to the modern style of football, which of course is as soon as you blow on somebody and they fall over, it's like, oh my God. It's so funny because football fans as a whole tend to be very aggressive, very hostile, and particularly when it comes to their own football team, as you'll probably find out in the comments. But at the same time, they are incredibly sensitized to challenges, tackles, things of offside of this nature. This tackle was rough. Probably deserved a red in retrospect. It'd be interesting to see whether the FA does choose to punish Jordan Pickford in retrospect for the challenge. It's not the biggest, obviously, VAR decision for this game. The thing is, VAR technically got it right. It was offside before the challenge, so it is offside. That doesn't mean you can't punish a player, though, for a violent tackle, and you still should do so. The big problem coming out of this for Liverpool, especially as they're trying to defend, you know, a much-earned title win that, you know, frankly, they hadn't won the title since, 1990. So this is a big deal for them. And they're looking, this isn't a one and done. Liverpool are looking to be a dynasty. And now they're without their best player, especially their best defender in Virgil van Dijk for a number of months. ACL, cruciate ligament issues. You know, that an anterior cruciate ligament could mean anything. You know, it could be 2 or 3 months, could be 2 years. That's the really scary thing about these ligaments. And, you know, they're going to sit there and think, right, okay, I think it's made worse by the fact that he's come away injured. If Virgil van Dijk comes away from this challenge, he hobbles off, and then the next day he's like, yeah, I'm okay, it was a bit of a rough knock, I'll be playing next game. People are going to be like, okay, well, Pickford should have been reprimanded for it. At the same time, you know, we're more sensitised, we're more hypersensitized to the tackling in football. I understand it's a different game. I'm not going to be like Graham Souness and whinge about, you know, look at my day, we used to hit people over the head with a cup of tea. Whatever. You know, it's not an old man's game anymore. That being said, I do think we need to just calm down a little bit. Jordan Pickford, though, you know, the biggest argument I'd be making, especially if I was a Liverpool fan, and I'm not, the joy of being a neutral is I don't have to be so emotionally engrossed in that. I would argue that without Jordan Pickford, Everton probably wouldn't have come away with a result here. And frankly, probably shouldn't have, because the VAR decision that I'm surprised you haven't started with is the last-minute offside decision on Mane. It's 2-2. This is the last minute of the game. Mane is adjudged after an extraordinary amount of time to be offside due to VAR. I've looked at that footage about 100 times, photos, everything. If he's offside, it's by one thread on the sleeve of his jersey. So, but this is the problem. You keep changing the rules every year. This is handball. They've even changed the way that we look at handball during this season already because of the ludicrous decision that was made in the Tottenham-Newcastle game. So now we've got this position of, okay, if any part of you is offside, you are offside. But even looking at that footage, I cannot honestly understand how you can claim that's offside. And if I'm a referee looking at it, I'm thinking, sorry, that's not enough to a judge as offside. I personally wanted Everton to do well in this game because from a neutral perspective, it's good when other teams are doing well. And let's be honest, no one other than possibly Aston Villa has been hotter than Everton coming out of the gate this season. You know, Calvert-Lewin, again, excellent game, scores. Once again, that's 5 games straight in the Premier League that he scored. You know, he's the first Everton player since 1938 to score a goal in each of their first 5 league games. You know, it's an astonishing achievement. He's on fire, made his debut for England, scored as well for them in the international break. Great player. But looking back at this game, it's hard not to say Liverpool, a little bit hard done by, and ultimately Everton probably have a right in some ways. I know Liverpool fans are poking fun at them. Everton are still above you in the league. You've lost your centre-half. Everton look good as well. They're a really good side this season. I believe they're going to break top four. I don't think they're going to win the title, but obviously the more, well, we said this about Leicester. There's no reason why a team like this can't come through. And I think if you look on paper, this Everton team's got just as much talent, just as much quality as that Leicester team did that ended up winning the league. There's no reason why they can't. Right now, if I'm an Everton fan, I'm thinking a reasonable expectation is top 6. But if I want to shoot for the moon, definitely top 3 or 4. Definitely. But games like this will decide titles later down the line. And if you're a Liverpool fan, after coming off an absolute humping from Aston Villa, which is an anomaly, let's not act as if that is something that's going to happen every week. When you are that dominant, you're going to get a shit kicking once in a while. That's just how it is. I remember when Man United were constantly winning the league and Newcastle gave them a right hump and beat them 5-0 once. It happens. Arsenal lost 8-2 to United. These games do happen. These teams will bounce back. Liverpool got way too much quality to be losing games 7-2 every week. But at the end of the season, they're going to look back at a game like this and think that's 2 points that were frankly taken from us in the last minute. I mean, you've obviously seen the game as well. You must have an opinion on what you thought of that offside decision.
The offside decision. It was. I couldn't see. I watched it and watched it and watched it, but I could not see where there was an offside. Like, I don't know where VAR was finding this, unless he literally had a toenail over the line or something.
The insinuation is his upper arm, apparently. That's what we're hearing, is that ever such a slight amount of it is offside. I personally think, scrap it, go back to the old days. If there's no daylight, it's not offside. Simple as that.
Right. I agree. The one thing that I want to bring up about Liverpool is not only are they now without Virgil van Dijk, they don't have Alisson. He's out for a while. He got hurt in practice or something. The only reason I know this is because my psychiatrist is a Liverpool fan, and we talk about it in our sessions.
Sounds like he could do with a psychiatrist after that game.
Yeah. I gave him a right thumping after the Villa game. I was like, what the hell happened there? He said, I don't want to talk about it. Let's start our session. So, no Alisson, no Virgil van Dijk. What does Liverpool do to try to get back into that dominance role?
Well, the transfer window is now shut. I think Liverpool's got more than enough talent. We forget. I think we've taken Mohamed Salah for granted. A lot of people will know who know me. I mean, you can probably tell just from my appearance.
I love Mohamed Salah. I'm irritated that Chelsea got rid of him.
I'm amazed that Chelsea got rid of him, frankly. I remember him playing for Basel. I got to see him play at a very young age because I'm half Egyptian, so I take a real interest in the Egyptian national team. I got to see him play at the Olympics, actually, and he completely destroyed everyone he was up against. And this was a one-man guy. When they played Brazil in an Olympic game, they ran him ragged for the majority and only narrowly lost 2-1 in a game when they had far more opportunities. And that's basically because he was just rampant. For me, I believe him to be the best striker in the Premier League.
Oh, yeah.
If you consider everybody, when they're all playing at full pace, and we saw that. He didn't have as great a deal of impact on this game, and I'd like to think that a lot of that is to do with the fact he has taken a slight step back to allow players like Mane to come into this game, and because Mane is really underappreciated actually as a forward player. Great pace, great physicality, but you saw that with Salah's goal. It was beautiful, right? The ball comes back to him. He's got literally less than a second to react to that ball. And in that moment, he's able to, and again, I call back to high IQ. The ball comes back to him. He immediately strikes the ball square in the bottom corner. The swerve on it is beautiful. It's beaten Pickford. All ends up. Pickford had a great game as well. Made a lot of very serious saves for Everton in this game. And that's probably going to lend itself to the argument, like I say, for the red card, because if he's sent off, there's no way Everton are going to be able to, shall we say, repel the offense.
No chance.
And for me, Salah, even when he's not playing that well, maybe when he's not having a overall impact, maybe not seeing him dribble around as many players or create as many chances, he'll still find himself in those positions and get a goal. It's a classic poacher in that way, but he was also very skillful. I think I wouldn't underestimate the fact that Liverpool won the title last season. They won it at a canter, despite the break. COVID relieved enough that they could at least finish the season, thank God. Because frankly, I think it would have been a joke if Liverpool hadn't won the title. They were 2 games away from it when they brought in, the lockdown measures.
Right.
And let's be fair, every single time a team wins the league, very rarely do they then go and absolutely dominate the following season as well. Even if they do win it, like teams like Chelsea, Man United have when they've done repeats, you're going to get your best shot from everybody. And also, I don't think Liverpool strengthened that much in the summer. Now, I know they went out and got Diogo Jota, a good player. I don't think he's the quality of Salah and Mane. I don't. And I think it's a good signing, because what it does is it puts pressure on the front players, particularly when Firmino's fit as well. You've got options there. And what that means is that if you're not playing well, there are other players who will happily slot into that. And Diogo Jota strikes me as the kind of player who's going to be fantastic in a cup run. Liverpool might end up winning like a League Cup or an FA Cup because he's the guy who will be able to take on that kind of mental. But it's a long season. It's also condensed. There's a lot of games being played rapidly. The physicality is going to be a question. You don't have the adrenaline of the fans that are going to be there. Britain as a whole has opted, unless you're in low leagues, you're not allowed any fans whatsoever. So for me, it's going to be a season of attrition and strength and depth. And I don't think, particularly with Virgil van Dijk, there's no shame in that. Who are you going to replace Virgil van Dijk with? He's the best centre-half in Britain, if not Europe, if not the world, you could argue. He really is the difference. He reminds me of Vincent Kompany when Manchester City were winning the title. He's that kind of guy. He is the backbone of what Liverpool does in their back four. Curious to see how they're going to react to that. But I honestly don't think Liverpool's got enough depth. That being said, they've still got enough quality that they're going to be top 2 or 3 most likely. I think they're up there as contenders.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The one move that is still a head scratcher to me for Liverpool was getting Thiago Alcantara, or however the hell he says his last name.
Good research, buddy.
Yeah, I know. He was a head scratcher for me because they've got Jordan Henderson, they've got Naby Keita, they've got midfielders. So why go out and get another midfielder?
Yeah.
They needed to go and get another defender, honestly, because other than VVD and Trent Alexander-Arnold, their defense is not that good. Robertson's okay, but then now you've got Virgil's out. So now you've got to either put in Joe Gomez or Joel Matip, and Matip's always injury prone lately. So then you're going to stuck with Joe Gomez trying to lead your center half.
He's a bit iffy, Joe Gomez.
He is.
I don't rate Gomez that much. I mean, he's a good, solid player, but he feels like a rotation player, a squad player. And you mentioned the fact that you don't think that they're that strong on defence. I mean, Virgil van Dijk will make up for a lot of that. But what makes Liverpool's defence so good is the fact that they can chip in and create so many opportunities of their own. We've seen that with Alexander-Arnold himself. He's so dangerous going forward as well, set piece specialist. And they've kind of relied on firepower more so than out-and-out defence. It's not like they were shutting everybody out. They're not like, the Chelsea teams under Mourinho, the sort of 1-0 and part of the bus kind of mentality. This was a team of fluid football. I think that other than Arsenal, you could make a serious argument, even though they don't win as much, and we'll talk about Arsenal as well. They play some of the better football. It's more attractive to watch. And it's funny, I'm surprised that so many people dislike Liverpool so much and dislike the fact that I think it's just a mentality of as soon as you become a winner, as soon as you become dominant, it's just natural, particularly in this country, for people to hate you. You probably see it abroad a lot. Tom Brady at the Patriots for so long. The more you win, the more people detest you because they don't like the same. Michael Schumacher was the same in Formula One. People used to find Formula One boring because Michael Schumacher was consistently winning championships. But back in the day, we never really felt that way about certain legends. When you look at Fangio when he was winning Formula One Grand Prix, football-wise, you had people like Puskas dominating the football game for so long, Pele as well, and people just were kind of in awe of it. Nowadays, we're all just a bit spoiled with the access to social media and everything else. We're just going to be like, yeah, well, I hate Liverpool because they win everything. And one of the big things with Liverpool as well was last season, everyone said, oh, VAR, it's on their side. Well, I mean, so far this season, it's all over them. So you can't really complain. If you're talking about karma, swings and roundabouts, things of that nature, Liverpool are certainly getting the raw end of the deal right now with VAR.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that people were calling them Liverpool, but instead of VER, it was Liverpool.
Yeah,
Yes,
which now it'll be Everton. So, I mean,
is...
hey, I don't know who at the Sun's getting paid money to fucking do that, but, don't buy the Sun because they're a bunch of cretins. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but, fuck the Sun. I've got to say on that matter. But yeah, I mean, I won't dwell on it too much longer, but I still think Liverpool have the quality to challenge. And I think when it's all said and done, they're still going to be flying around. The key is going to be how well do they play when teams like Man City come to town.